Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And in my lifetime, I think I have seen an historic representation, especially of Black women, in very high political and or legal positions, whether it is Black women as U.S. district attorneys, lead prosecutors, judges, definitely mayors, whereas L.A. Mayor Karen Bass, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, and even here in St. Louis, for the first time in history, we just had our first Black female mayor, Miss Tashara Jones, who served one term and then she lost her re-election bid here late last year. But I've seen a huge presence, or a nice presence, not a huge presence, of Black females that are in high positions. Even this issue with President Trump and the Federal Reserve Governor, Dr. Lisa Cook, who President Trump is trying to have removed from the Federal Reserve Board. So it's been a nice representation. But in this story I'm going to tell you about is, as President Trump is rolling back and deprioritizing DEI, there is an issue that's going on in corporate America, where they're saying that about 300,000 Black women have been pushed out of the workforce. And there's this thing that they talk about that I want you to follow in this story, called Employee Resource Groups, ERGs. So this story is about, there's no friends in the pipeline. Why are 300,000 Black women being pushed out of the workforce due to DEI rollbacks? So a recently published MSNBC article made headlines for a shocking stat. Nearly 300,000 Black women have exited the American labor force in the last 3 months. The article attributes the mass exodus to reasons like federal job cuts and the dismantling of DEI programs, with issues like inflation, student loan debt, automation, and underrepresentation in growing tech sectors, creating a compounded economic risk for Black women. This phenomenon not only hurts Black women, but has a ripple effect for the entire U.S. economy, resulting in a loss in the country's gross domestic product, the GDP. A less discussed issue that must be considered is how what is happening is also the cause of a widening network gap faced by Black women. A 2019 article from LinkedIn's Vice President of Social Impact, Meg Garlinghouse, explored the network gap, the unequal access a person has to opportunities based on who they know. So this article is talking about not what you know, but who you know. So we're talking nepotism, legacy, not being of the right skin tone or color. Garlinghouse's article cited research that indicated, listen to this, that 70% of professionals who get hired at jobs where they know someone who works there, 70% of professionals get hired at jobs where they know someone who already works at the place. A 2020 study by Chika Okafor indicated that non-white job candidates get fewer jobs through referrals because of their social network being smaller. With the anti-DEI legislation and a wave of corporate DEI rollbacks, many companies have deprioritized DEI, dismantling programs and initiatives like employee resource groups, ERGs, which provide key opportunities to boost one's professional network. Now, I have never heard of ERGs, but for those who are out there looking for jobs in the workforce, take a look at this thing called employee resource groups. According to Catalyst, ERGs can be thought of as a voluntary, employee-led group that fosters inclusive work environments aligned with business values, goals, and objectives. Often, ERGs focus on a shared identity, whether it's race, religion, being a parent, LGBTQIA, and status. ERGs provide employees with pathways to network, connect with pathways to networks, connect across departments, find mentors, and build relationships. But many organizations are quietly shuttering their ERGs amid growing anti-DEI sentiments. Having less opportunities to be in a community with employees at different levels in an organization can exacerbate the network gap that Black women face. Mentorship and sponsorship programs, which are often perceived to be DEI or DEI adjacent, may be halted in the current climate due to President Donald Trump. Even though these programs can play an instrumental role in employees' careers and Black women's career advancement. A wealth of research indicates that Black women leading Fortune 500 companies, as well as those in education, medicine, and tech, routinely report feeling of both hypervisibility and invisibility. Organizational psychologist Dr. Keisha Thomas has highlighted the pet to threat concept in her research. The phenomenon in Black women's career trajectories, where they go from being the pet, where they are well liked and celebrated but exploited, to being the threat, where they are seen as posing a risk to the status quo, which is the white power structure. A 2023 report from Exhale indicated that 30% of Black women have exited a job because they felt unsafe. Black women face a slew of inequities in the workplace and must deal with issues of gender, racism, and the angry Black woman syndrome or stereotype. A 2024 Harvard study also found evidence that when Black women have a higher percentage of white team members, they are more likely to leave their job and less likely to be promoted, revealing the systemic inequities that are entrenched in the corporate white workforce. The rise of AI may be making the problem even worse. So we're talking about technology. Many of the AI tools that companies lean on to help with hiring decisions may exacerbate existing biases, contributing to hiring gaps when it comes to Black women. Black women are overrepresented in job roles that are vulnerable to AI and automation, explained executive leadership coach Margaret Spence in a LinkedIn article. These factors, in conjunction with the dismantling of corporate DEI programs, makes building and sustaining professional networks for Black women more challenging. What can organizations do to address this issue? First off, workplaces should be intentional about providing employees with opportunities to network with each other? Do you have an active mentorship and sponsorship programs in place? If not, how can you get them started? Ensure that equity is foundational in your workplace. Frequently audit the company's policies and practices to ensure fairness and disaggregate employee feedback from anonymous channels, focus groups, and surveys to better understand Black women's experiences. What are Black women saying when they leave your organization? They should do research on that. Assess exit interview data to see if patterns are emerging from the Black women who have left. Well, that's going to take a lot of effort from corporate America. And do they even have that desire to find out why these Black women are leaving or unhappy or feel unsafe in the workforce? I think in the majority of white corporate America and the white power structure, I don't even think they care. Black issues that exist in the political arena, in the job workforce, I think the majority of your upper class, corporate structured white folks aren't even thinking about Black issues whatsoever. And you got to also remember, is a huge misnomer when affirmative action was in place for many, many years. The presumption for most white people was that Black individuals who got jobs got them through affirmative action. And actually, the number one race or the number one person who benefited from affirmative action were white females. President Obama enacted the DEI issue and put that in place in the workforce in corporate America. And what that did, so affirmative action did not make it better for Black folks in general. And then you have DEI, which broadened the scope. So under the DEI umbrella, you have the LGBTQ, you have Asians from China, Japan, you have Indians from India. They're all encapsulated into DEI, which pushed Black males and females even lower in those specific programs. So the presumption and assumption that affirmative action and DEI benefited most Black people is not true. Affirmative action, the number one benefactor from it was white women. For DEI, it broadened the scope, and you could check off boxes for Indians from India, Chinese people from China, etc.